What if I told you that America's grand aviation gateways, airports once roaring with life and possibility, are now echoing with silence? Imagine terminals where families once rushed excitedly to vacation destinations, now replaced by the low hum of empty escalators and shuttered shops. From coast to coast, regional airports that symbolized American connectivity are now shadows of their former selves. Flights are being cut. Communities are being abandoned. Even the airlines themselves admit it. But why is this happening? Is it economics, consolidation, or something deeper about how corporate America has decided some communities simply don't matter anymore? The numbers don't lie, and they paint a picture of systematic abandonment. According to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, U.S. airline passenger traffic declined 4.6% in February 2025 compared to February 2024. That's over 3 million fewer passengers in a single month. March 2025 saw similar declines, traffic down 1.4%, dropping from 84.9 million to 83.6 million passengers. But here's what they don't want you to know about the real story behind those numbers. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, legacy airlines have completely abandoned 74 regional airports across the United States. 74 communities that once had direct connections to America's aviation network are now cut off. 12 airports have lost all commercial airline service between January 2020 and January 2024. Not reduced service. All service. Gone completely. Spirit Airlines, facing bankruptcy in 2024, slashed 25% of their summer 2025 flights, eliminating over 20,000 flights from June through August. That's 20,000 connections that families, businesses, and communities were counting on, just erased. And this statistic should terrify anyone living outside a major city. 65% of small community airports experienced reduced air service in October 2024 compared to October 2019. The Regional Airline Association confirms that over 50% of 50-seat regional jets, the exact planes designed to serve smaller markets, have been permanently removed from the U.S. fleet. When the tools to connect America disappear, so does the connection itself. But here's what really stings. While domestic regional routes are being cut, Americans are flying to Europe in record numbers. According to Booking.com data from 2025, overseas tours by Americans rose 37% compared to the previous year, while domestic trips fell 18%. Let that sink in. Americans would rather fly across an ocean than fly across their own country. Why? A family from Aurora, Colorado explained it plainly. We wanted to take our son to Florida to see his grandmother, but the ticket was nearly $900 round trip. For that same price, we could fly to Portugal for a week, hotels included. But it's not just about money. It's about the experience. A young traveler from Singapore who used to visit the U.S. regularly put it bluntly, "I prefer Europe now. It's easier to get around, safer, and I don't feel scrutinized when entering. In Europe, I'm a welcome guest. In America, I feel like a suspect." That sentiment is echoed across Asia and Latin America. Tours to the U.S. from Asian countries have dropped nearly 46% in just 2 years. Even Canadians, America's closest neighbors and historically most loyal visitors, are staying away in droves. For international visitors, the barriers are exhausting. Visa wait times of 4 to 6 months for tourist visas, invasive security screenings at airports, rising costs for everything from hotels to food, a perception that America has become unsafe or unwelcoming. Meanwhile, Europe offers easy Schengen visas or visa-free travel for many countries, efficient, affordable high-speed trains connecting cities, lower costs for accommodation and dining. Even Americans are feeling it. As one Denver mother said, flying from Colorado to California costs more than flying to Greece. The experience abroad is better, people are friendlier, and we get more for our money. Why would I stay domestic? Why? This is the hidden story behind the regional airport collapse. It's not just that airlines are abandoning small cities. It's that America has made itself uninviting, expensive, and difficult to navigate, even for its own citizens. And when airlines do serve communities, they don't stay long. Remember when Southwest Airlines came to Bellingham, Washington in 2021? They didn't tiptoe in. They made promises. Year-round service to Las Vegas, Oakland, and Denver. The community celebrated. Businesses planned around those routes. Families made vacation plans. Then in April 2024, Southwest announced they were pulling out completely. Effective date? August 4th, 2024. 3 months notice to upend people's lives. Here's what makes me think the most about this entire situation. These communities didn't fail. These airports didn't close due to lack of interest. Passenger numbers at many of these locations were stable or even growing modestly. But airlines made a calculation. Instead of serving 100 communities with modest profits, they decided to serve 50 communities with massive profits. Consolidate into fortress hubs, Dallas, Atlanta, Denver, Chicago, the coastal cities, where they can charge premium fares, maximize ancillary revenue from baggage fees and seat selection, and face limited competition. The whole magic of American aviation was that it didn't matter if you lived in New York City or Toledo, Ohio. You could connect to anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, within hours. You were part of the same national network. That promise is being systematically broken, one city at a time. And the people making these decisions? They're not suffering. While passengers in Toledo drive an extra 2 hours and pay double, Robert Isom collected $15.6 million in 2024. Ed Bastian at Delta? $27.1 million. They're betting you won't fight back. They re-betting you just accept that air travel is now a luxury reserved for major metropolitan areas. But that's not the worst part. The evidence doesn't stop with a few canceled routes and corporate platitudes. There's a smoking gun here that reveals exactly what's happening behind closed doors. The Spirit Airlines collapse. Spirit Airlines filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy at the end of 2024 after losing $1.2 billion in 2024 alone. When they emerged from bankruptcy in March 2025, they immediately began what they called reshaping the network. The data from aviation analytics company Cirium shows exactly what that meant. Spirit cut over 5,000 flights nationally for 2025. They completely suspended service to 3 international airports. And across their 10 largest base airports, capacity was slashed dramatically. Orlando, once Spirit's second largest market, lost nearly a third of its Spirit capacity. Las Vegas saw a 20% drop. Fort Lauderdale lost 10% despite being their largest hub. But here's the smoking gun. Spirit spokesperson told the press, "We routinely evaluate our network and make adjustments to support the company's business strategy based on current market and operating conditions." That's corporate euphemism translated. We only serve markets that maximize our profit margins. Your community's needs are irrelevant to our business strategy. The American Airlines admission. When American Airlines announced they were leaving Toledo, they issued a statement about the regional pilot shortage. But their own SEC filings tell a different story. According to industry analysts at Ailvon Pacific, airlines made the pilot shortage worse by adding dozens of new routes this year without a proportional personnel increase. They expanded service to profitable markets while simultaneously recruiting pilots away from regional carriers. American's statement to NPR about Toledo was especially telling. It is always difficult to decide to end service to a market, and there are always several factors to consider, including customer demand, alternative airport access for local residents, and industry constraints. Let's talk about the human cost of these corporate decisions. Julie Johnston McManus runs World Travel International, a travel agency. The location? Inside the terminal at Toledo Express Airport. The cruel irony is almost too painful to contemplate. Her business exists to help people travel, but it's located in an airport where commercial passenger service ended in 2022. It's very sad, she told NPR in a 2023 interview that remains relevant today. To know that we can't help people that need immediate service to leave right from here. Or like our older clients, having to pay a driver to get them to other airports because they were no longer able to make those drives. Picture what that means in practice. Elderly residents who spent their entire lives in Toledo, who raised families there, who paid taxes and supported their community for decades. Now they have to hire professional drivers to take them 65 miles to Detroit just to catch a flight. Or they simply stop traveling altogether. They miss family weddings. They skip reunions. They can't visit grandchildren who moved away. The isolation compounds. In September 2025, Safford Regional Airport in Arizona lost its only commercial flight, a route to Phoenix that had launched just 9 months earlier. Think about that timeline. 9 months. the time it takes to grow a baby. Safford residents had 9 months of connectivity before it was ripped away. Airport manager Cameron Atkins told local news that the service is ending due to a lack of funding. For decades after airline deregulation in the 1970s, Safford had no scheduled air service at all. The Essential Air Service program briefly gave them hope. Now that hope is gone again. The 144-mile drive to Phoenix doesn't sound terrible until you're 75 years old with medical appointments. Or you're a small business owner trying to compete with companies based in connected cities, or you're a young person watching your hometown become increasingly isolated from opportunity. These aren't just travel inconvenience stories. They're economic devastation stories. When site consultants evaluate potential locations for new businesses, lack of air service is a deal breaker. Companies won't locate facilities in cities where executives can't fly in and out conveniently. That means no new corporate headquarters, no satellite offices, no distribution centers, which means no new jobs, which means young people leave, which means the tax base shrinks, which means schools lose funding, which means property values decline, which means elderly residents can't sell their homes to relocate to be near family. It's a death spiral, and it starts with a canceled flight route. A tour coordinator at Chicago O'Hare, who once welcomed groups from Germany, South Korea, and Brazil every single week, told reporters her schedule has been completely empty in 2025. Half her team has been laid off. Her words should haunt us. It seems like Chicago has lost its position and we in tourism are the first casualties. If Chicago, the third largest city in America with a world-class cultural scene and iconic architecture, can't maintain its international tourism industry, what chance do Toledo, Bellingham, and Safford have? The people who built regional airports with their tax dollars, who filled those seats for decades, who made the airline industry profitable in the first place, they're being systematically abandoned. The betrayal runs deeper than canceled routes. It's a betrayal of the American promise that prosperity and connectivity should be available to all communities, not just the privileged few in coastal and major hub cities. These aren't numbers on a spreadsheet. They're not markets underperforming. They're real people, grandparents, small business owners, students, workers, watching their communities be erased from America's aviation map. And the executives making these decisions? They recollecting multi-million-dollar bonuses while the people they re-abandoning struggle to afford the higher costs and longer journeys now required just to maintain basic connectivity. Your voice and your wallet still matter, maybe more than ever. First, document and amplify. If you live in a community that's lost air service or is watching routes disappear, start documenting the impact. This isn't about complaining. It's about creating an undeniable record. Take photos of empty terminals. Record videos of yourself explaining the 2-hour drive you now make to reach the nearest airport. Interview local business owners about how losing air service has affected their operations. Talk to elderly neighbors who can no longer visit family. Post these stories on social media. Tag your local news outlets. Send them to community Facebook groups and Nextdoor pages. Use hashtags like hashtag #SaveRegionalAviation and hashtag #AirportAbandonment. Why does this matter? Because airline route planners and executives track social media sentiment. They monitor news coverage. When a community makes enough noise, it becomes a reputational risk. Corporate boards don't like reputational risks. Second, attend local airport authority meetings. Every regional airport has a governing authority, usually an airport commission, port authority, or similar body. These meetings are public, and they're where decisions about funding, airline recruitment, and strategic planning happen. Show up, bring neighbors, make your voice heard. When these authorities apply for federal grants or negotiate with airlines, they need to demonstrate community support. Empty meeting rooms signal that nobody cares. Packed meeting rooms signal that the community is paying attention. In October 2024, Toledo Express Airport secured over $1 million in federal funding through the FAA's Small Community Air Service Development Program. That happened because Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur fought for it, and she fought for it because constituents made clear it mattered to them. Third, support alternative carriers strategically. When low-cost carriers like Allegiant, Breeze, Avalo, or Sun Country establish service in your region, support them with your business. Even if the schedule isn't perfect, even if they don't fly exactly where you want to go. These carriers are often the last line of defense for smaller communities. When they see consistent passenger numbers, They maintain and expand service. When they see empty planes, they leave. Yes, you might have to connect through Las Vegas or Fort Myers instead of getting a direct flight. But keeping any service is better than losing all service. At the same time, hold legacy carriers accountable. If American, Delta, or United abandoned your city, write to their customer service departments. Explain the impact. Be specific. Your decision to leave Toledo has forced me to drive 130 miles round trip to Detroit, adding $60 in parking and 3 hours to every trip. Copy your elected officials on these letters. Airlines track complaint volumes. When they reach certain thresholds, they trigger internal reviews and executive attention. Every canceled route makes the next cancellation easier. Every community that accepts abandonment without fighting back sends a message to airlines that they can continue this strategy without consequences. But every community that fights back, that makes noise, that votes with their wallets and their ballots, they make the next abandonment harder. Airlines are making profit calculations. Our job is to change the variables in that calculation. Add reputational risk. Add political pressure. Add consumer backlash. Add media scrutiny. Make it more expensive and more difficult to abandon communities than to serve them. The more we expose what's happening, the more pressure airlines feel to at least slow down the abandonment, if not reverse course. This isn't about forcing airlines to lose money. It's about demanding that they maintain basic service to communities that supported them for decades, even if those routes are only modestly profitable instead of massively profitable. It's about preserving American connectivity. It's about ensuring that opportunity isn't determined by whether you were lucky enough to be born near a fortress hub airport. This is bigger than airline service cuts. This is about what kind of country America wants to be. Do we want an America where prosperity, opportunity, and connectivity are available to all communities? Or an America where you have to live in a dozen major metropolitan areas to access the full promise of modern life? You didn't ask for this. The people of Toledo, Bellingham, Syracuse, Safford, Williamsport, they didn't fail. They didn't stop flying. They didn't cause the pilot shortage or the Boeing delivery delays or the pandemic disruptions. They paid their taxes. They filled seats. They supported airports with local funding. They did everything right. And they being abandoned anyway because corporate executives decided that modest profits are enough when maximum profits are possible by concentrating service into fortress hubs. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments. What's your airport story? Have you watched your hometown airport shrink year after year? Have you lost direct routes that once made your life easier? Be honest. Share your stories below. Tag someone from your hometown who's experienced these cuts. Share this video in community groups. The more people who understand what's happening to regional American aviation, the harder it becomes for airlines to continue this quiet, systematic abandonment. These are small actions, but millions of small actions create movements. Movements create change. The collapse has begun, but it doesn't have to continue. Together, we can demand that American aviation serves all Americans, not just the profitable few.